You can join the toast over Zoom. It's more of an intimate thing this year, my mom texted me. That was the message she sent the day before what was supposed to be their big 35th wedding anniversary celebration. I answered with one word, noted. Then I grabbed my phone, opened the OpenTable app, and canceled the reservation. The one I had made 2 months earlier. The one I had paid for in full. Private dining room. Premium wine pairings. A multi-course chef's menu. 14 people. I had covered everything quietly as usual. It was going to be a surprise. A gift. I'd planned the whole night from top to bottom, reached out to their closest friends, arranged rides, even paid the corkage fee in advance. That was my way of showing up. My way of saying, even if you push me to the sidelines, I still care. I'm still trying. But apparently, that effort didn't count. Apparently, I didn't qualify as intimate. At exactly 7:42 p.m., my phone rang. They turned us away. My dad shouted. No hello. No lead-up. Just full-blown outrage. The restaurant says the reservation was canceled. Our name's not on the list. We're standing here with everyone. What the hell is going on? His voice cracked with fury. As if I had embarrassed him. As if I had been the one erasing him all these years. I took a breath and said it calmly, you asked for intimacy. I honored that. Then I hung up. I didn't check my phone again. Instead, I stepped out onto my balcony, let the night air wash over me, and listened. The low hum of the city. Glasses clinking at nearby patios. A little laughter drifting through the air. Somewhere across town, my parents and their favorite people were probably still standing outside that 5-star restaurant, all dressed up with nowhere to go, wondering how the evening fell apart. They wouldn't know right away that I had canceled it. They might suspect. But they wouldn't be certain. And that doubt? That little sliver of uncertainty? It felt like the first time I'd ever had real power in this family. For as long as I could remember, my worth had come from being quiet, generous, dependable. I wasn't asked to be part of decisions. I was just expected to fund them. And when I finally stopped, when I dared to pull back, I became cold, ungrateful, distant. So when they told me, so politely, that I could join the toast over Zoom this year, after everything, I took the hint. And I gave them something in return. The next morning, a courier rang my buzzer. Package addressed to me. Hand delivery. Signature required. Thick envelope. That kind of heavy, pricey stationery my dad always used when he wanted to make a point. Inside was one sentence, scribbled in his theatrical, all-caps handwriting. You've crossed a line. But if you want to play grown-up games, let's play. Below that? A wire confirmation for $14,600. The exact amount I had paid for the dinner. It wasn't repayment. It was a warning shot. A message, we're even now. Which, to me, meant something else entirely. I don't owe you my silence anymore. Sometimes you don't realize you've been cast as the family servant until you finally stop serving. I never volunteered to be the reliable one. It just happened. Middle child. Not the star eldest. Not the adored baby girl. Just me, the quiet one. The kid who didn't talk back. Who figured out APRs by 15. Who kept his head down and never stirred the pot. And somehow, I became the one who paid. When my older brother Rick launched his third business, a gourmet juice truck that never even moved off the driveway, I was the one who chipped in. $1,000. Gone in half a year. When my sister Melanie had her second baby, and her boyfriend ditched her for some Twitch streamer, I stepped in to cover rent. Diapers, formula, doctor visits, 2 years of bills. When mom and dad wanted a kitchen upgrade, I didn't blink. I wired them $8,300. New countertops. A double oven. Consider it a gift, I said. You've done so much for us. That was the joke, though. I believed it. I really thought that helping them would one day earn me a seat at the table. That if I kept showing up, I'd eventually be seen. Valued. Included. It was never about the money. It was about the tone. The way Dad would mutter, "He's good for it," when the bill landed. The way Mom would go, "I wish your brother had your sense of responsibility," but only when she wanted something. No one ever said thank you. Just, "I knew you'd come through." For years, I told myself this was normal, that this was just what families did, that I was being dramatic or selfish for even noticing, that it was noble to give quietly, to ask for nothing, because if I stopped pouring into everyone's empty cups, who would pick up the slack? I still remember the exact moment I paid the deposit for that dinner. I was sitting in my car on lunch break, transferred the money without hesitation. Not even a second thought. That was who I was. That's what I did. But something had started to shift around that time. Not a big betrayal. Nothing loud or obvious. Just tiny cracks. The kind you only notice if you're finally paying attention. Like when Melanie's daughter called me Uncle Wallet. Or when I overheard Rick griping to Dad that I'd been stingy lately because I hadn't paid some overdue registration fee for yet another startup incubator. Or when Mom laughed at dinner and said, "You'd make a great butler. Always 2 steps behind. Always cleaning up the mess." They weren't kidding. Not really. That's when it hit me, I wasn't family. I was a resource. A faucet. A credit card with a heartbeat. Only appreciated when I gave. Resented the moment I didn't. When I asked Dad if that Zoom toast message was really his idea, just asked, he didn't even look up from his paper. He said flatly, "You're single. It didn't make sense to pay for a +1 when it's just you. We're trying to keep things warm." That's what he called excluding me from the night I had funded. They always noticed the things I handled after the fact. The catering confirmation. The smart locks I installed. The mortgage payment they never had to worry about. That's when it hit me, clear as day. I was never truly a guest at these gatherings. I was the foundation. They weren't inviting me. They were depending on me. I was the floor they walked on without looking down. And I had finally decided to stop being their flooring. They had built their holidays on my back. Dinners planned using my cart, celebrations inside homes I helped maintain, streamed through Wi-Fi I paid for and installed. And through all that, they still found ways to mock me to my face. But not this time. That Thanksgiving, I didn't just walk out of the house. I walked out of the entire system. And when I leaned in and whispered to Grandma, "I'll fix this," I wasn't just talking about that day. I meant all of it. What they didn't realize was how deeply everything ran through me. The digital locks, the food delivery, the synced calendar reminders, the guest transportation. Hell, even the music in the living room, it all funneled through systems I designed, funded, and managed. I left quietly. But they were about to learn what happens when someone you mistake for background support actually walks away. And let me be clear, I didn't lose sleep that night. Not out of rage. Not from heartbreak. I didn't toss and turn. I didn't cry into a notebook or send myself some sad little note on my phone. I just laid there, completely still, eyes on the ceiling, as one thought looped in my head like a soft, steady alarm. They removed her chair on purpose. And I knew what came next. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to demand an explanation. I wasn't going to post some dramatic monologue in the group chat. I had finally seen it for what it was. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as infrastructure. And now, I was unplugging myself. Not out of spite, out of self-respect. You don't torch the power grid when people start abusing it. You just flip the switches, one by one. 7:12 a.m. Catering. Terminated. The Magnolia table order, Thanksgiving brunch for 20, was booked under my corporate account. Confirmed, prepaid, set to arrive at 11:45 sharp. I logged in, went to the orders section, and hit cancel. No refund. The window had passed. Didn't matter to me. I treated it like a loss I was willing to eat. They'd be standing there, waiting for that delivery, while it either showed up cold or not at all, depending on how generous I felt. I picked up the phone and rerouted the drop-off to a shelter 2 miles north. "They'll be waiting outside," I told the driver. He thanked me. They wouldn't have. 8:03 a.m., door access revoked. That front door smart lock? I bought it. Installed it under my business license. All user permissions? Routed through me. With one tap, I froze every code. Locked them out of override. The house had 4 exits, but only 2 weren't linked to my system. I left those alone. I wasn't being cruel, I was being exact. But the front entrance? The garage door? The high-end patio slider with the fancy fingerprint reader? Disabled. Later, my brother would try to reset everything. He'd call the installer. And the installer would tell him, "Sorry, sir, you're not listed on the account." I know this because I personally wrote the call script for their support team. 8:46 a.m., Wi-Fi, suspended. No internet. No thermostat. No YouTube for the kids. No Spotify to set the holiday mood. No Ring cam feed. No Alexa reminders to pull the turkey. I shut down the mesh network node by node, leaving the whole house wrapped in digital silence. I could practically see Dad standing in the hallway, gripping the router like a stressed toy, giving it the old shake and reboot routine, confused why nothing worked this time. 9:15 a.m., vehicle charging. Cut off. My brother drove an EV. Guess who installed the charging station in the garage? Guess whose name was on the energy plan? Yeah. Not my problem anymore. 9:42 a.m., subscriptions. Cancelled. I logged into my bank account and pulled up a list of every streaming service they'd been quietly piggybacking on. Netflix, 5 profiles. Hulu, for grandma's late-night favorites. Disney Plus, for the kids. HBO Max, my sister-in-law's go-to. DoorDash Pass. Amazon Prime. Password Manager. Cloud storage. All of it. Gone. I changed every login, revoked every shared email, scrubbed every device ID. By the time they realized something was off, they'd already be halfway through typing a complaint into a help chat, just in time to get logged out. 10:08 a.m., calendar wiped. I opened Google Calendar and deleted every shared event. Family dinner. Birthday barbecue. Cousins game night. Dad's retirement party. Even the upcoming Christmas setup, bring extra chairs. No more chairs. No more setups. No more family event placeholders where I was expected to play the help. I didn't decline. I just erased myself from the infrastructure. 10:40 a.m., financial ties, cut. This part took a little more time. I canceled my cosigner's status on the mortgage. Froze all scheduled assistance payments. The joint card I had helped Grandma open, the one she never remembered the PIN for, I rerouted it into a personal account I'd set up for her the week before. I'd noticed some suspicious transactions. Turns out Rick had been using the card. Just for groceries, he claimed. One of those groceries happened to be a $400 speaker system. On sale. For himself. Not anymore. 11:22 a.m., Grandma. I picked her up, not from the house, but from the sidewalk. She'd already stepped outside, coat half-buttoned, purse clutched tight like she was waiting for rescue. "I thought I'd go for a walk," she said softly. We both knew that wasn't true. I opened the car door, and she climbed in. No questions. We ended up at a quiet little bistro just a few blocks from her old apartment, the one she'd lived in before they moved her into the guest room and started treating her like a to-do list. We ordered lunch. She told me about the time she took a Greyhound to Kansas to see her sister's wedding. No jibbies. Just a paper map and a peanut butter sandwich. "You don't always need an invitation," she said, smiling. "You just show up." Then I said, "Consider this my resignation." Melanie just scoffed. "You're not serious." "Oh, I'm absolutely serious," I told her. "I'm done. I'm not the bank anymore. I'm not the fixer. Not the afterthought you keep around just because I'm useful." I grabbed my coat and started toward the hallway. That's when Mom finally spoke up, finding her voice at last. "You're overreacting. This is just a family disagreement. You're making a scene." I turned to face her. "This isn't a scene," I said flatly. "This is an exit." Rick muttered from the couch, "God, you're so dramatic." "Better dramatic than delusional," I shot back. I was at the bottom of that ladder for years. But now I'd chosen a different path. And I walked out the door, closed it behind me, and didn't look back. But that wasn't the end. The real ending came the next morning. A different courier showed up with another envelope. Same handwriting. But this time, it wasn't a check. It was a legal notice. Dad had started the process to remove me from the family trust, a trust I'd contributed to for over a decade. And that's when I knew for sure this wasn't about money anymore. This was about action. Silence used to feel like punishment, but it felt like peace. The day after I got that letter from Dad's lawyer, I sat on my balcony with a mug of black coffee and stared at it again. The paper was crisp and white. The language precise. The signature looked less like a name and more like a brand. Per mutual understanding, my name is hereby removed from all active decision-making related to the Martin Family Trust. Mutual understanding? That part almost made me laugh. I didn't even know I was still listed as a trustee. I thought back to the day they added me to those documents. I had just covered Rick's hospital bills after his motorcycle accident. Dad said, "You've earned some weight in the family." I should have known then what that meant. Weight, not respect. Responsibility, not a voice. They added me because I was convenient. And now, without warning, they'd erased me for the exact same reason. At first, I was furious. That burning, visceral fire that wanted to scorch everything, drag them all into the mess they'd made. But the anger didn't last. Instead, I felt light. Weightless, even. I hadn't realized how tightly I'd clung to the hope of inclusion. Of being seen. Of being wanted. And now, that hope was gone. Replaced by something far more useful, clarity. 3 days later, the calls started. First up was Melanie. She didn't even bring up the dinner. She cut right to the chase. "So, I just wanted to ask, are you still planning to help with Ava's preschool tuition?" The school emailed me. "It's due soon." I almost smiled. The nerve. "No," I said. There was a pause. "Sorry, what?" "No. I'm not helping with tuition." "I'm not helping with anything," I said firmly. "You can't be serious." "Melanie, we haven't spoken in 2 years without you needing something. This is me being serious for once. But Ava loves you." Then tell her Uncle wishes her well. I hope she learns about boundaries early. I hung up before she could try to weaponize guilt. She called again the next day. Then stopped. Then Rick came through, not with a call, but a Venmo request. Titled, "Gas plus food plus biz emergency equals folded hands medium light skin. $850. Declined. 2 hours later, messages flooded in. "Bro, seriously? What happened to family helps family? This is so petty, man." Dad was right. You have a God complex. I didn't reply. I let those words sit there, bouncing off the walls of my silence. For the first time, I wasn't performing. I wasn't explaining myself. I wasn't trying to prove my worth. I was just gone. What they didn't realize, and what I finally did, was how much of this machine I kept running. I was the one funding the holidays. The birthdays. The last-minute plane tickets for emergencies. The surprise baby shower gifts. Now that I was gone, the gears started to jam. Mom tried next. Sent a long, carefully worded email. "We never meant to hurt you. We were just trying to make a celebration that felt balanced. If we went too far, please forgive us. It's been a stressful year. And you've always been the one we could count on because we know you're strong. Stronger than the rest of us. Please come over for coffee. Just to talk. No drama. No drama." That line hit me hard. The same family that iced me out of a celebration I paid for was now begging me back, on one condition, that I didn't bring the mess with me. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened a new browser tab. Started looking at apartments in cities 3 states away. Texted with a recruiter about a job I'd been too scared to chase, a nonprofit CFO role, with housing support and a clean break from everything I'd known. For the first time, I wasn't just dreaming about leaving. I was making plans. It took 2 weeks before someone showed up at my door. Not my dad. Not my siblings. It was Kelly, Rick's wife. No makeup. Hoodie pulled tight around her shoulders. Eyes already red before she spoke. "I'm not here to ask for anything," she said quietly. I don't know what's happening to this family." I let her in and poured her a cup of tea. I sat across from Kelly on that same old couch, the one where I'd spent years digesting every insult, every manipulation, every invisible bruise life dealt me over the last decade. "You're not the problem," she said quietly. "But you've been made into one. Rick, he's unraveling," she added. "I told him he needs to apologize," she said, "but he's too proud." maybe too scared to. She looked up at me, pain written all over her face. I don't blame you for leaving, she said honestly. Hell, I envy you. I believed her. Kelly was always the quiet one, the observer who saw the harsh rod but never had the tools to name it, let alone stand up against it. We talked for nearly an hour, but even about how family can twist into a system, and systems don't change just because one person screams. When she left, she hugged me. Tighter than I expected. It was the first real, genuine affection I'd felt from anyone connected to my brother. I didn't cry, but I wanted to. Not because I missed them. Because I realized I didn't. By the 4th week, silence settled back in. No emails. No calls. The family group chat I once paid to keep alive, full of vacation plans, holiday menus, was dead quiet. I imagined their dinners now. Less food on the table. Even less joy. Maybe they'd figure it out. Maybe they wouldn't. But either way, I wouldn't be there. It's been 7 months since that night I walked away from that dinner. I haven't spoken to Dad since. I hear updates secondhand, mostly from Kelly, sometimes through vague social media posts from distant cousins. I don't look for them. But the algorithm knows. It drops their digital ghosts into my feed like unwanted reminders. Rick tried texting me 2 months ago. Just one word. No explanation. No ask. No apology. I didn't respond. Later, I learned Mom had been in the hospital briefly. Nothing serious, just dehydration and stress. Probably from trying to hold together a tangled web of codependency she helped weave over decades. Part of me felt something. Guilt? Maybe. But it passed fast. Not because I didn't care. Because I finally understood something I'd taken way too long to learn. Caring doesn't mean sacrificing your self-respect. I sent her a bouquet. Signed the card with one simple line. Wishing you health and clarity. Your son. I didn't write my name. If she didn't recognize the handwriting, the message wasn't really meant for her anyway. I live in another city now. Smaller. Quieter. Fewer expectations tied to legacy. I work for a nonprofit that offers financial counseling to young adults. Funny how life works. I spent most of my life bleeding money for people who never said thanks. Now, I teach strangers how not to end up like me. It's the most fulfilling work I've ever done. My apartment is small, but it's bright. I have plants now. They don't demand much, just sunlight and water. And they give back with green. It's a better trade than I ever got at home. On weekends, I take long walks with no destination. I cook real meals. My friend group isn't built on obligation or history, but on shared values. Nobody texts me only when they need a favor. Last month, I met someone. Halfway through dinner, they asked, "What was your family like growing up?" For the first time, I didn't freeze. Didn't flinch. Didn't change the subject. I just answered honestly. Complicated. Loving. But conditional. But I've learned to love myself unconditionally. That helps. They nodded. No pity. Just presence. That's when I knew I was okay. Sometimes I still dream about Dad. In those dreams, I'm standing at one end of a long dining table. He's at the other, smiling, glass raised. Everyone's watching me, waiting for me to make a toast. But in the dream, I don't lift my glass. I just walk away. And no one follows. And I wake up feeling peace. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You can love your family. You can understand them. You can grieve for them. But you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. Not anymore.